Good afternoon. It is May 22nd of 2012. I'm going to do a little talk today about something which I think is going to be a developing area of the law affecting all of us. As most of you know from following me or from following just the news, the remedy of the class action is becoming really damaged a lot. I do not necessarily think this is a good thing at all. There are definitely situations where class actions are much, much better for approaching certain legal problems than individual actions. I mean, for instance, if a bank or a mortgage company or a credit card company, rips off each and every one of their clients, $12, it's pretty rare that the individuals are going to hire a lawyer or go down to court over something like $12, and yet, unfortunately, that's what they do. Also, securities class actions, certain types of employment class actions, there's situations where basically having the aggregate testimony of several people who've been affected by a particular practice, a particular business practice or investing practice, is much better than trying to maintain these actions individually. So I don't think the demise of the class action is a good thing, and I will say that the demise of the class action has come at the hands of Wall Street and the big banks and the other forces in the economy like that who don't have the interests of consumers at heart. All right, all that said, with the demise of the class action, what are we left with in terms of legal remedy when the business practice of some particular entity, some particular company, some particular bank, some particular landlord, some particular dealership, when it affects a group of people more than just one individual person, and having the testimony of a group of people will help basically strengthen the case of each of the individuals involved. We have what is called the mass action. Mass, M-A-S-S, like group or congregate, mass action. And what the mass action is that in a class action, what you have is one individual who's a member of the class or a group of individuals who are members of the class will be representatives of the entire class. In the mass action, it is not a representative action. In short, each of the individuals involved is a plaintiff with their own claim in the lawsuit. And I got to tell you something, that if you have an attorney who understands what a mass action is, it is a very, very good legal tool. And we have run mass actions out of my firm, and specifically in the landlord-tenant area, where landlords will basically make conditions unlivable for a group of tenants, not just one tenant. And if you get the tenants all together into a mass action, you can normally force the landlord to the bargaining table, put up some money, and also remedy whatever situation that they're creating in the apartment which is causing the problem. So how do you know if you have a situation which may be a mass action as opposed to a class action? Well, something is happening to you which is unfair or unjust. There's two obvious ways to go about it. Number one is just talk to your neighbors and talk to your friends. Number two is go on the internet. But ideally, what you want is a group of people. I would say no more than maybe 50, because if it gets too big, it becomes unmanageable. And frankly, at that point, you probably have to think about a class action. But you have a group of people who are affected by some particular unfair business practice, some particular fraud. You get together. You find a lawyer who's experienced with mass actions, and that would include me, and you basically work out an agreement whereby the plaintiff represents each and every one of you in a mass action, and each of you has your own claim standing alone against the company, against the dealership, against the landlord, against the bank, against the credit card company, whatever. The mass action, as far as I'm concerned, is for many of the consumer abuses out there, it is at least as good as the class action. But you've got smaller groups. Sometimes there are problems with having smaller groups. Class actions, obviously, for many types of cases, class actions are a very good remedy, but they're not the best remedy for all types of cases. Mass actions are actually very good, and they're underused. So if you find yourself, the victim of some kind of consumer abuse, the victim of a fraud, or something like that by a landlord, a bank, a dealership, whatever, consider a mass action. Talk to your friends and neighbors who you may know have shopped at or do business with, the bank or the dealership, whatever that is doing this to you. Go online, do some research, get a group of people together. Once you get a group of people together, you can come to an attorney like me who does mass actions, and we can evaluate whether we can help you. But I got to tell you something, the strength of a mass action is similar to the strength of a class action. You've got the testimony and the proof that what the business is doing to consumers is not one isolated instance, but is grouped over a whole bunch of people. That's why it's a mass action, and that type of strength of evidence is what often forces the company to come to the table and settle. So if you think you have something which is unfair to you as a consumer, consider a mass action. And I'll tell you something else about a mass action. Normally, the plaintiffs in a mass action do much better than the plaintiffs in a class action, because it's not, you're not just getting a coupon or something like that. Each individual plaintiff has his or her case before the court, just as if she or he were by themselves as a plaintiff, without other people involved in the same problem. So normally you get more money in a mass action than in a class action. It's a good remedy, it's a good tool. And as the weeks and months go by, I'll be doing some more discussions and some more blogging about it, so you have an idea of what we're looking for, when we think we can help you, and when you should consider entering into a mass action or even gathering up a mass action to remedy some consumer abuse or injustice. Listen, thanks very much, and I hope you're having a good spring.